Yo, what's going on, guys? It's C-Brev. Welcome to another MLB The Show 21 video. In this one, I'm going to be ranking all 30 of the Stage 1 Team Affinity cards that are part of the 42 series. I'm going to be giving my analysis and evaluation on all of these cards to help you guys decide which ones you should grind for first. Friendly reminder to like the video, subscribe to the channel, tons of MLB The Show content here for you, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Twitch as well. Those are up at the top corner. And if you want to know the fastest way to complete Team Affinity to get these cards, I did post a video on that as well. Link is in the description below. We're going to be rating these cards in terms of tiers. We're going to rank them starting with S tier, which are the top tier cards from this set that you're going to want for sure. A tier, which is slightly below, but still extremely good cards. Then we're going to go down to B tier, which are pretty good cards. We're going to do C tier, which are cards you should probably avoid and that won't see much play. And then we're going to do a special tier for bench bats because there are some really good hitters in this set that just aren't really viable as starters. I have 6 players ranked in S tier and I have 4 players ranked in A tier. So if you combine my S and A tiers, that will give you a top 10 out of these 30 cards to kind of give you some direction on which 10 of these I think are the best in the game right now. And also, these cards aren't ranked one over the other in each tier. If a card's in S tier, I think it's roughly just as good as another card that's in S tier. So the order at which I go over them in each tier does not matter. What really matters is the difference between the tiers. Starting off S tier, we have Salvador Perez. This is an extremely good card, brings a lot of power to the table, pretty similar power numbers to the new Mike Piazza card that is a first inning boss choice. A lot less contact than Mike Piazza, but still comparable power wise. This card may not jump off the paper at you if you're new to the game, but Salvador Perez has an incredible swing. He was definitely a fan favorite last year, and catcher is one of the scarcest positions in the game right now. I can count on one hand how many diamonds are competitively viable at the catcher position. So because this card brings a lot of pop offensively and is one of the only options you have at the position right now, definitely have to rate this card in the S tier. Next in S tier, we have Nico Goodrum, which may surprise some of you guys. Another BR fan favorite with an incredible swing. The one knock on this card is that he's very low contact versus right, which is a pretty important stat online, but everything else on this card looks incredible. He's going to bring diamond defense at shortstop with 80 speed early on in the year. That is crucial. He can also play all over the field, so many secondary positions, and he's a switch hitter. Still brings over 80 power versus right despite the contact, so if you connect on one, he's gonna hit it a long way. And then 115 contact and 70 power versus left is extremely good. I would advise playing this card at shortstop if you can. His defense in game will drop to gold if you play him at a secondary position. If you guys didn't know, a defensive color shield is separated by fielding rating in game, so you need 90 fielding to have diamond defense inside of the game when you're actually playing. You need 80 fielding to have gold defense inside of the game when you're actually playing. But regardless, this card checks all the boxes except for one attribute, which is contact versus right, but just a really good card for launch day. Next in S tier, a card that's gonna surprise nobody, Joey Gallo. Another guy that just crushes the baseball in game. Look at that power. The contact is low. That's kind of just what you're signing up for with Joey Gallo, but if you connect, it's gonna be a home run a lot of the time. And look at those defensive stats, completely maxed out except for fielding at 95. He is gonna be a little slow in the outfield with 56 speed, but hopefully the 95 fielding and 99 reaction can help him with that. I personally think the best spot for this card is at third base. He's going to have 99 arm strength and still 90 fielding, which is diamond over there. And third base is just a great position to bring a ton of power from the left side of the plate. Love this guy. Amazing cards year in and year out. Gonna hit a ton of tanks and play amazing defense for you. First pitcher on this list is Luis Castillo from the Cincinnati Reds. This card looks really good to me. Circle changeup primary is amazing. There aren't a lot of cards early on that even throw a circle changeup, so for him to have it as a primary pitch where he's going to have the highest amount of control, that is awesome. Circle changeup is one of the hardest pitches to hit in the game in my opinion, and he also brings the sinker with it, which breaks in the exact same way, but is obviously thrown a lot harder. Being able to tunnel circle changeups and sinkers together is going to make it really hard for your opponent to get their timing down. His four-seam fastball can also gas up to 99 miles an hour, and 88 hits per 9, 81 K per 9 is pretty good for launch. Should mention though, however, if you're using pinpoint pitching, circle changeup is one of the hardest pitches to throw with that interface, so just make sure you get into practice mode with Luis Castillo and throw a lot of circle changeups to get used to it. This card also has slightly worse stuff than another guy that I'm gonna rate in A tier, but probably better control and much better per 9, so that's why I'm rating him higher in S tier. Really solid starter, good enough per 9s, and a really good pitch mix. Next in S tier, I was completely blown away when I saw this card. I was not expecting this to be a thing at all. But Keston Hero with 114 power versus right, also has 91 contact versus right, which is really high. I've talked about this in videos before, but I very highly value contact and power versus right because you are going to be facing right-handed pitching most of the time. And even if you do end up against a left-handed pitcher with this guy, he's still bringing 77 contact and 72 power to the table. Just can't stress to you guys enough how insane 114 power versus righties is as a launch day card. That's more than even Joey Gallo brings to the table. And this Keston Hira card is bringing that power to a position of second base that historically has really struggled to find good power hitters at all. So the fact that you're able to use a primary second baseman on launch that absolutely crushes the ball against right-handed pitching is completely insane to me. I know this card may not jump out off the paper right away at you, but I promise if you take enough at bats with a card with this kind of attribute distribution, you are going to be satisfied. Obviously, the defense leaves a little bit to be desired, but luckily second base isn't a really defensive intense position. The low arm strength isn't going to hurt you, and really the only problems you're going to have on defense with this card is in regards to range, trying to get to balls right and left. But the power that this guy brings to the table is going to be more than enough to offset those defensive woes. Our sixth and last player in S tier is Trent Grisham. This is an insanely valuable card early on in the game cycle with the defense and speed that he brings to the table. With 96 fielding, 98 reaction, you're actually going to be able to play him in his secondary positions such as left field and right field and still maintain diamond defense with 92 speed. That is incredible because if you combine him with someone like Kenny Lofton from the first inning program, you can then have two guys with over 90 speed and diamond defense in your outfield just running down every ball that's hit. I really highly value guys that bring diamond defense and very high speed to the table early on in the game cycle. I think it's super valuable to be able to create more fly ball outs than your opponents are getting because your outfielders are just getting to more balls. And despite the fact that this is defensive centric center fielder, he still brings 84 power versus right to the table, which is more than enough to hit the ball out, and decent enough contact. This contact isn't even really that low compared to other cards. So this card is going to be a defensive machine for you. I would definitely try to play him in the corner outfield so you can pair him with another diamond defense center fielder, and he's also going to be able to run into one every once in a while from the left side of the plate. Love the way this card is statted and lots of opportunities with parallel to get this guy up to 99 fielding, 99 reaction, and even more speed. Now moving on to the four players in A tier, starting off with Sixto Sanchez. This guy is just nasty. If you notice, basically the same pitch repertoire as Luis Castillo, although he throws a little bit harder and he has a primary straight changeup instead of a circle changeup. Gonna be easier to throw a primary straight changeup with pinpoint pitching, so that's something to be mentioned. And this guy's stuff is just nasty. If you look over, I moused over to pitch break. He's got 98 break on his primary changeup and 97 break on his sinker. Those are going to be very, very tough pitches to hit, and this guy's pitch repertoire in general is just disgusting. A couple knocks on this guy, why I just have him rated slightly below S tier, is if you look at pitch control, not a ton of control on any of his pitches, and also his hits per nine and K per nine are a little lower than I would want. It's going to help your opponent's PCI be a little bigger and help them make solid contact more often. But as far as pitch repertoire and stuff, this is one of the best options in the game right now, and he will definitely be a staple in my rotation for several weeks. Next in A tier, a card I bet none of y'all were expecting, Willy Adames from the Tampa Bay Rays. This is another card that is just statted beautifully. He hits righties better, very high contact at 96, and also 81 power versus right. Also brings 82 power versus left with a lot lower contact, but he also brings gold defense to shortstop with the 80 fielding and has 97 arm strength to make those tough plays throwing from the hole, and 74 speed is decently fast for this time of the year, especially for a shortstop. So you know, all things considered, to a lesser degree, this is actually pretty close to a 5-tool player. He leaves a little bit to be desired with contact versus left and with fielding, but gold is still going to be good enough, especially with 74 speed, and his hitting attributes are very good as well. Third in A tier, we have Kyle Lewis from the Seattle Mariners. You're starting to see a theme here. Another righty that hits righties extremely well. 89 contact, 95 power is insane. Also brings 97 power versus lefties. And if you play him in center field, he is also going to have gold defense and 78 speed, which is going to be more than serviceable. You'll also start to notice a theme here as well. You may have noticed with Trent Grisham, and that I don't value arm strength very highly for my outfielders. I would much rather have an outfielder with high fielding and high reaction ratings than an outfielder with high arm strength. I just personally don't think high arm strength makes a difference most of the time. But yeah, there's just not a whole lot to say about this card. Hits righties better with good contact, brings a ton of power to the table, and gonna play gold defense in center field. Very, very good card. And finally in A tier, we have Max Muncy, another guy that's kind of in the Joey Gallo territory. Tons of power from the left side, amazing swing, and I also really like Max Muncy's positional versatility. He is a primary first baseman on this card, but you can also play him at second base and third base, and he's going to maintain his silver defense. So just another guy with a ton of pop, an amazing swing, and ability to play a bunch of different positions. So with the top 10 out of the way and moving on to B tier, I'm going to start rolling through these cards a lot more quickly. I'm just going to briefly talk about what I like and don't like about the card. Cards in B tier I still would consider good, so just because they're not in A tier or S tier does not mean they are unusable at all. In fact, some of these B tier cards bring a lot of stuff to the table. Here we're going to start off with Dom Smith. Amazing hitting, amazing swing, but you have to play this guy at his secondary position in first base. He's just not really viable in the outfield with 38 speed. David Fletcher, incredible defense, good positional versatility combined with high contact, just not enough power for me, not really my cup of tea as a card, especially in the infield with all the power options we have. But if high contact and high defense is your cup of tea up the middle, then this card is definitely your guy. Giancarlo Stanton, amazing power, of course, but only silver defense and 63 speed in the outfield. Probably a little bit too low on the defensive scale for me. Bo Bichette, pretty average hitting stats compared to other options and only silver defense at shortstop. Has a very good swing though. Anthony Santander, I absolutely raked with this card last year. I think his swing is incredible. He's also a switch hitter, but he's just slightly below having diamond defense in game with that 88 fielding, and he's also a little bit slow with 59 speed, so he's not going to play the best defense for you. Jesus Luzardo, pretty nasty stuff. I wish his primary pitch was still a curveball. He's kind of in Sixto Sanchez territory where his per nines are pretty low, but his pitches are pretty nasty. If you look at pitch break, 99 break on the four seam, 95 break on the changeup, and 99 break on the sinker. However, I just think his pitch repertoire is just a little worse than Sixto Sanchez's, and that's why he's in B tier and not A tier. Jose Barrios, another card that's pretty interesting, a primary slur, which is very unique, can also throw the fastball up to 97 miles an hour, and he has 99 break on the slurve. This card could maybe be rated a little higher, but I only have him in B tier because he basically only has 2 pitch speeds and 3 pitches, and he also has a very simple delivery that's easy to pick up on as a hitter. Tim Anderson honestly could be a little higher as well, just a slightly worse hitter against righties and only silver defense at shortstop, which is a position I value defense quite highly at. Ke'Bryan Hayes, actually really like his swing and brings diamond defense to third base. Unfortunately, I haven't found third base defense to be terribly important in years past. I'd rather have a guy here that can just hit for power. Jack Flaherty, this is a weird one. Pretty high hits per 9, but historically a card that I've just gotten blown up with every single time I used him. I think this card could possibly be lower than B tier, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because it's early on. He's got a sinker and his hits per 9 are pretty high, but honestly probably won't be part of my rotation. Ketel Marte, this is a weird one as well. I thought they could have statted him a little better. He's only going to have silver defense at his secondary positions, which is really where he draws value. Using Ketel Marte cards in the past, it was awesome to be able to throw him at second base and shortstop. However, he drops down to silver defense at those positions. Also, his hitting stats versus righties are very low. I'm surprised they went this low. This card had a lot of potential to be A tier or S tier, but they just didn't really give him the benefit of the doubt with a lot of the attributes that I find important. And finally, in B tier, Mike Yastrzemski, another card that rakes and has reverse splits as a left-handed hitter, which is pretty unique. Also has gold defense in the outfield with 63 speed. However, 54 arm strength is really low. I know I mentioned earlier I don't value arm strength very much, but 54 is just extremely low. Regardless, should be able to get to a decent amount of balls in the outfield, and it's going to hit really well. On to C tier, the cards you should avoid in my opinion, starting off with Xander Bogaerts. This card plays terrible defense, even lower than his attributes indicate a lot in the past, and if you play this card at a secondary position, he would actually have common defense, just not good enough hitting to offset how terrible his defense is. Jason Hayward is kind of in the opposite boat, just not good enough defense to offset his hitting. Only gold fielding and 55 speed for a card that you're gonna want to use for defense pretty much, just not good enough for me. Dansby Swanson, just very meh at the plate, and I think there's a lot of better shortstop options in Team Affinity. Patrick Corbin, a guy that doesn't throw hard at all and not a ton of break or control on any of his pitches, and another card kind of in the Jack Flaherty boat where it seems like every time I pitch with him, he just gets destroyed by people online. And German Marquez, who has even lower per nines than someone like Sixto Sanchez and does not have nearly as good of a pitch repertoire. And finally, for our last 3 cards, I have them in what I'm calling the bench tier because they hit really well, but in my opinion, they're basically unusable as starters. First off is Yordan Alvarez. Only common fielding and 42 speed in the outfield is just not going to get it done. Does rake at the plate though, obviously. Franmil Reyes, 106 power versus right is very nice, and he actually does have silver fielding, so a little better than Yordan, but still only 47 speed out there. And finally, Andrew McCutchen, who is a decent bitch bat, but honestly, his hitting stats aren't even that great either, and only bronze defense and 64 speed in left field. So that's gonna do it for the video, ranking all 30 of the Stage 1 Team Affinity rewards. Let me know down in the comment section below which ones you guys are gonna go after now that you've heard my opinions. Just as a recap of our top 10, in S tier we have Salvador Perez, Nico Goodrum, Joey Gallo, Luis Castillo, Trent Grisham, and Keston Hiura. And in A tier we had Sixto Sanchez, Willy Adames, Kyle Lewis, and Max Muncy. Appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for all your support this year, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.